Welcome to Shed Life. We've got another great podcast coming at you. Got a special one today. We're going to be talking to Mark Davis, my brother. He's a builder, a BMXer, a watchmaker, all-round good guy. So we're all about good people working hard and fun stories. So welcome aboard, Mark.
G'day, Jason. How are you?
Great. It's a new year. It's 2026. So we're going to just jump into it and get some stories. We're going to be covering off stories of Mark's actually been a watchmaker for many years. Many people don't know. We've already said BMX, some awesome shed building stories. We're going to hit life in the bush, working for Doc, building walkways, re-roofing the Pinnacles hut, pest trapping, crazy concerts, traveling around in the four-wheel drive around the South Island, bluff, beekeeping, dairy farming. Who knows if we've got enough time, and maybe even Coromandel time. So, crikey, let's get into it. Before you were the Waikato Shed Company shed builder in another life, another time ago, you were actually a watchmaker on Queen Street.
I was. I'd grown up, my whole life growing up, I always wanted to be a builder, always said, I'm going to be a builder. And when I left school at 15, 16, I enrolled
requested
requested by myself. Mum was like, stick out another year. I was like, no way. It was actually the first week of sixth form, so when I was 16, went back, and I was like, what am I doing? And left to do a building course, so I did that, and once I finished that, time to get a job, but I'm pretty white still, always have been, and I get pretty sunburnt, so I wasn't too sure if I wanted to be out in the blazing sun all day getting burnt. And my mum had met a guy that was a watchmaker on Queen Street, another Mark Wild, and he was looking for an apprentice. So I said, oh, it sounds interesting, I'll go in and do that. Went in for a few Saturdays to sort of learn the ropes, and he offered me an apprenticeship. Cool. So actually, to start with, I went to Wellington for, I think it was like 12 weeks or something. Went down there, and Capital Watch Company showed me the ropes. I worked for them for 12 weeks, so I learnt the basics of changing batteries, changing straps. So then when I came back and started with Mark, who was just a one-man band, I would automatically be able to do a few things without just him having to take away all his time to teach me. So yeah, I worked on Queen Street, right in the middle of it, corner of Queen and Wellesley, for, I don't know, about 8 or 9 years, fixing watches.
We're hearing what type of watches? What were the fanciest watches? And like, what are you getting?
Well, of course, like everything from your bottom end, Rolexes, which is what everybody thinks is the fanciest. They're thinking, oh, Rolexes, but there's plenty of fancier stuff than that. Found out sometimes the hard way. Like this lady had brought this watch in, and it was this beautiful little lady's watch, a glass dial, and then it had glass around it, and it had diamonds in it. And I was like, it'll be $20 for a new battery. And she was trying to hackle me down for price, so I assumed it wasn't a very good watch. Did it. Popped the back off, put the new battery in. When I went to press the back on in the press, I smashed the glass on the front of it. Yeah. And so it turned out was real diamonds. Oh no. $500 piece of glass to get a new one. So you can't always judge every book by its cover. Yeah. I can't remember. That was like a Cartier. No, it wouldn't have been a Cartier because I knew Cartier. It would just been some other, like, there's Swiss just brand or hundreds of these brands that it's like, people know Rolex because they sponsor the sailing, they sponsor motorsports, but there's Patek Philippe's, there's Cartier, there's just all these other brands that are worth an absolute fortune. We'd have 24 karat gold watches coming in. Nice. And so when you're servicing watches, they're actually mechanical. Most of them are battery operated, and then a lot of them are mechanically operated. So you have to strip them into hundreds of pieces, put them through a cleaning machine that puts them through different cleaning solutions, cleans them all, then we put them back together. And you're looking through magnifying glasses and putting them back together. So did that. Oh. Didn't really enjoy it. It was way too fiddly for me. Sort of liked it because nobody could believe that I did it, that knew me. But also every time I was thinking, I'm going to leave, obviously Mark could tell. and he'd give me a pay rise. And I'd be like, stick around a bit longer. So, yeah, did that for sort of that long. And,
any interesting adventures happen on Queen Street? What was that like? So you would have been living on the shore, catching the ferry over?
Yeah, so catching the ferry over, living in Devonport, and for most of the time, Devonport, Belmont, then Forest Hill. Riding my BMX down to the ferry, catch the ferry over. Yeah, Queen Street, she's a colourful place, lots of colourful characters. I previously to being a watchmaker, while I was still at school, I worked at a bike shop, which was in the bottom of Queen Street, Adventure Cycles. So you got to know all the homeless people that were around, like, especially then, Auckland had like a real homeless population that was just like the core people.
Because that would have been roughly where Britomart is. So the fancy Britomart precinct now where it's super nice was super
not nice. People that know it would have remembered the Oriental Markets. It was like a big abandoned building and just, not very nice. When I went back there last year, it was like, holy mackerel, things had changed.
Yeah.
But, Queen Street, there was always lots of funny things going on, pretty colourful characters. One very memorable time, I was sitting there, not working, scrolling the internet, and we were in the bottom floor of like a 10-story building, or the ground floor of a 10-story building, and above us was the busiest money exchange in New Zealand. And every day I'd see these Indian guys walk past with their briefcase, go up and get the money. And, you'd wave out, see them every day. And you get a lot.
Security guards or just like private dealers?
Like 2 security guards, 2 like work for Chubb or something, had their van, they'd double park outside and go up every day. So, and you'd get a lot of that in the city. You'd see these people every day, so you sort of felt like you knew them, but you'd never actually talk to them.
Yeah.
And so I'd see them go up and down every day. And then one day saw them go up, saw the guy come out, and you sort of always see sort of dodgy folk hanging around, but think nothing of it because you're on Queen Street. And then I hear this great commotion, and I turn around and look out the window, and there's a guy trying to wrestle the briefcase off this Indian security guard. So I just was like, boom, put my cape on, run out, clocked the guy on the head, and then started wrestling with him. And then automatically you got a massive crowd around you watching, and I was sort of on the ground, and we both got up, and the guy was and then run off, and I was about to take chase, and it's like, well, what am I doing? Job's done. And security guard was like, thanks, pretty shaken, and I was the only one at work, so I went back into work to keep on working.
Real hard by the sound.
Yeah, well, stop work from getting robbed, maybe. Yeah. And then the police came, did it all. I had to go to the police station, give my turn of events and all of that. So yeah, that was pretty memorable. Stopping a bank robbery. It was something like 50k in that briefcase. So some pretty serious cash.
Yeah, nice. Did they catch the dude?
No, I don't think so. Who knows,
But they didn't. You don't have to go to court as a witness.
No, so probably not. They just booted off, jumped in a car and drove off. So, and that would have been sort of 2010-ish, maybe. Yeah. Maybe a little bit later, but not like in prime security camera times where you imagine now the whole of Queen Street and everywhere else is camera. Back then, not so much. So, and they're probably in a stolen car. Get that, ditch that. But they didn't get away with the cash, so that's what's important.
Yeah, and save the banks, eh?
It's the banks. They're doing it tough.
So, I know, how many watchmakers are there? Because it's an interesting trade. It's so specialised. It's super intense, but then you're getting a lady try to haggle you for a $20 watch battery, when she's got multiple diamonds in it. So,
yeah, you'd get a lot of ladies that have been brought really expensive watches. Yeah. Like, we had another lady come in, and it was $300 to service her watch. She's like, no, I'll just buy a new one. Goes home, and the husband's like, no, you'll get that service. That's a $10,000 watch. So you got a lot of people that had no real idea what their watch was worth.
Yeah, interesting.
So there's not many. There's probably, I don't know, less than 100 watchmakers left in New Zealand, where every town used to have several watchmakers. When everybody was wearing a pocket watch and they had to be serviced all the time, that was your only means of telling the time, was your mental clock at home. But because watches, especially for men, are one of the only bits of jewellery you sort of have, they become quite a family heirloom quite quickly. So there's a lot of people with older watches that want to get them repaired to keep them going. And then there's still a bit of a, you know, like they say for men, what do you have? Your wedding ring, maybe a necklace. What can you go buy to make yourself stand out? A nice watch. And even if, you know, if it's a $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 Seiko, you're still going to get your battery done. You're going to get them pressure tested, new straps on them. So, yeah, there's still actually a heap of work, but it's what happened to all the trades in New Zealand. In the 70s and 80s, they disestablished all the organisations that trained all of the... It was actually twofold for watchmaking. Trained all the apprentices, and in the sort of 70s and 80s, when digital watches started coming in, they all thought, the watchmakers thought, oh, this is the end. Nobody's going to kind of keep on having classic watches. So lots of them stopped training apprentices. So you just sort of end up with this bottleneck now that there's still could do with more, but there's not as many people to train them.
No worries. And Mark Wild's still running the Auckland Watch Company? Do you know? Is he retired?
No, last time I heard, he'd actually moved to Blenheim.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so moved down to Blenheim. Going to still do watches down there. And, yeah, keep doing those.
Awesome. Where should we go from there? Should we talk about, let's go, give it a little bit. You grew up in the mighty Devonport. I know this, but, you know.
Let's seen you around.
Seen you around a few times. Couple of highlights. What was it like growing up in Devo?
Oh, it was awesome. Best place ever. Wow. Yeah, best place ever for me to grow up. You know, fantastic. Had my best mate Nick Pearson live across the road. Knew him from kindergarten, so since I was 4 years old. And then you got to go to all the same schools together. Devonport Primary, Belmont Intermediate, then Takapuna Grammar. And it was just a small little place that was full of beaches, mountains, like North Head, Mount Vic, all the tunnels you got to go and explore, and just good times. So, yeah, just grew up doing all that, getting to go to Sea Scouts, sail boats, and just have lots of little adventures, which is really cool. Heaps of freedom as well back then. It was sort of like just be home at 6 o'clock, go for it. No phones, no worries.
Yeah, just go and have fun.
Yeah.
And so you played some of the normal sports and everything, I know, but what stood out for me amongst the brothers you got, and how did you get into the world of BMXing?
BMXing, I vividly remember being, I actually don't remember what age I was, but probably 7 or 8, and got to see the X Games on TV. And X Games started in, I believe, sort of around 95, and in 95 I would have been 10, so maybe I was about 10. 94, 95, I think it sort of started, and seeing X Games on TV, and back then they were all full face helmets, chest protectors, like gladiators, just going out there and doing it. And I sort of just fell in love with it from then, you know.
So, and we're talking, they're doing jumps and that.
Like
this isn't
on
racing.
Ramps, doing jumps, dirt jumps, doing tricks, having a good time. Yeah, like I remember when I first got into BMX, and there were so few skate parks or anything. We rode from Devonport to Albany. Yeah. So that had been a few hours ride. And to go to the race course because they had an open day, and you know they're straight away like, where are your pads, where is all this, and we're like, we're out of here, man. Too many rules. Let me live my freestyle lifestyle. So yeah, never about racing. It was all about just freedom, having fun with your mates. So yeah.
So there was a real strong crossover between the skateboard and that sort of freestyle BMX culture, wasn't it? Out there on the streets doing it. So, but where were you guys riding? I mean, that is a buzz to ride. So, how did you get your first bike? Who bought you that? Where'd that turn up from?
Mowed lawns. I had my first mountain bike, an Interceptor from Hedgehog Bikes on the corner of Barry's Point Road, a
Yeah.
staple in a lot of people's lives on the shore. And then I saved up a bunch of money, and then Mum and Dad lent me the rest of the money, had to mow the lawns to pay it off, and brought a Schwinn an automatic, Schwinn Auto.
Yeah.
Back then there was like, all the bike shops would sell a few brands, but there weren't that many, and my mate Brad had an orange one with mags,
Cool.
and I got a black one without mags, thinking, oh, this will be different enough. He still packed a sad, copying me. But yeah, brought that from Hedgehog Bikes and had that, and that was my first bike.
Nice. And was that set up to be able to do jumps and that, or was it just set up for cruising?
No, sort of set up for freestyle. Like back then you had, like you'd have had your amateur models and then your pro models. So it was sort of like enough to get you into it. But of course, you'd always be wanting to buy new things to make it better and better.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And so where were you guys normally riding then?
When I first started riding, I'd have been an intermediate. You're sort of just riding around basically, because I think Devonport Skate Park hadn't been built at that stage.
Yeah.
So it's sort of you'd go street riding and you'd just ride around the streets and muck around. And like you'd go, there was me and my mates that rid, and then there was some dudes that were 2 years older, and then some guys that were older again. So you'd sort of ride around, see them, but it would always be, a bit of distance between.
Yeah.
But you'd sort of have to like watch them and like look at photos and magazines and try to work it out. But mainly to start with, you just jump down sets of stairs and like just ride around fast, drink big bottles of Coke, have a good time,
Nice.
And then Devonport Skate Park got built with the old rubbish dumpers. They, the Betts brothers, who were Kiwi skaters, and then their old man had moved them all to America, and then they moved back. So they'd been like introduced to skateboarding in LA. So they came back and petitioned or pitched the council to build a skate park, and just built like the coolest skate park ever. Only according to Devonport locals, generally.
Yeah.
Nobody else really liked it. It was very tight little transitions, but a big bowl, so it was very cool to learn to ride. But then once that was there, we just sort of rid that, and probably before that would have been Victoria Skate Park in downtown Auckland open, so we'd catch the ferry over. One of the first dudes I used to ride with, Kyle McDonald, his old man would deliver bread, and he'd take us over and drop us off at like 5:30 in the morning, and we'd hang around at the skate park, try not to get too close to all the homeless people until it was light enough to ride, and then ride all day long and catch the ferry home.
Nice. Classic 90s.
Yeah.
And when did you guys do like the jumps? I never remember there's like the Barry's Point Road jumps, and there's in the bush and like.
Yeah, so Barry's Point Road would have been around when I'd first started, but it was like, I remember going, the jumps were all too big.
Yeah.
Like they were for the like Tim White, Steve Post, Nick Rule, all these dudes that have been riding for years, so they could ride them, but it was too much for us. But they also didn't want Groms just turning up and ruining things, so you were not welcome.
Yeah.
So they were there and would sort of go and look at them, but it was just, yeah. And then they got bold when the motorway went through, so we rid there a little bit towards the end, but not really. But then we'd have other spots. So like we mainly rid skate parks up until the age we could get our licenses, and then we'd go like out West Auckland to PMP, and they'd dirt jumps there and help build and ride. And yeah, the initial crew I started riding with all dropped off.
Okay.
And then at the skate park I met George and Lewis Boulder, who are identical twins.
Yeah.
And they were pretty much the two dudes I always rode with. They were probably 2 years younger than me, and we'd just go out every weekend riding. And
nice. So who were the local, should we give them a shout out? Who were the local legends that were going out there and cranking it on the scene, on the BMX? Like,
when I would first started, Tim White, Steve Drain, Nick Rule, Steve Post, and Warren Gill, all those dudes, they'd have been out there shredding it. A few of them still are. But
awesome. And was anyone in competitions? Was there any sort of sponsorship or anything back then, or was it all just?
It's sort of, but it's like that would have always been the dream, you know,
Yeah.
like right, get sponsored. But basically didn't exist. There would have been a Haro's bike team. So it would have been like going to Sports and Outdoor Expo, and then it had a box jump and had a contest, which I remember entering. That would have been the first contest I ever entered. I'd have been like 13.
Yeah.
And entering that. And it was, you know, and that would have been people from Tauranga. Dwayne would have been up from Wellington, Dave the Man Manconi, and heaps of other dudes riding. So you get to sort of see it. And there'd have been some sponsored riders, but it would have been like you get a free shirt and frame or something, you know. Yeah, you weren't making a living. A lot of the Tauranga dudes were by being on the dole, building bikes for cash, and then getting like free frames. You know, that was the Tauranga dream.
Yeah, that's nice. The sunshine dream. How'd you pick up the name Ewok? Everybody in that scene seems to know you as Ewok.
Ewok. I'd always had this story a bit wrong, but it's still the story I think of. When I'd have been probably 12, or no, it must have been 11, there was a guy above me called Nick, and I always thought it was Nick McLaren, shout out DJ3140. I always thought it was him, and I was calling him Nicky, and then he chased me down, beat me up, and called me Ewok. And then Kevin Brown, Luke Guilfoyle, and all the dudes that were just a year above me were like, oh, that's your name now. And it sort of stuck. But then I talked to Nick McLaren years later, and he was like, no, that wasn't me. So, who knows? Some other dude.
Nice.
And and no real reason, you know, like he would have just called me it, like, Ewok, not really thinking any. It wasn't like, because I was swinging around trees and hairy ass and short.
It's like, he's believable now, a little.
Yeah, that's it. So.
Yeah, okay, yeah. What is an Ewok?
It's a little character of Star Wars, a little furry thing. Had little spears, helped Luke Skywalker defeat someone.
Yeah, that's it, when he was like
About
in the bush or something.
Yeah, keen as to kiss his sister until he found out it was his sister or something.
Yeah.
It's basically the gist of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's it. So they were the cute little Ewoks. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What got you to leave Auckland? So you didn't actually like being a watchmaker, which I remember, but you decided to just keep doing it anyway. But you eventually thought...
Yeah, thought better of it. I just think I'd gotten pretty sick of it, and I'd saved up a bunch of money. I think it actually corresponds with two things. Once Sean, our other brother, had a party at his flat in Auckland.
Yeah.
And went to that, and one of his mates, when I was leaving, he was like, man, and I don't think I had talked to him. He was just like, man, if you don't like your job, you shouldn't do your job, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, oh, okay. And left. And I don't know why he ever said, you know, like.
Yeah, why that dropped.
Yeah, like, I think it was possibly he'd just changed jobs and it was more something that was relevant to him. But it was just like, I was just over it. And I was just been over it one day and it was coming up to the break. And I remember Mark came back from lunch and I was just like, I'm not coming back after the break. And I want to go to the South Island and have a break. And he was like, yeah, sweet ass. And then he said he had severe arthritis his whole life pretty much, and he needed to get both his knees replaced. So he said, oh, you know, sweet as do what you want to do, but if you could come back in 6 months or something when I need my knee replaced and cover me, that'd be good. And that worked out, and I did.
Right.
But yes, I just decided, nah, had enough. Packed the bags, packed up my 4-wheel drive, had a sweet Toronto, hold a place in my heart, sweet Nissan, and packed up my dog Jimmy and went to the South Island for a few months. And I'd got into spearfishing the last few years before that. My mate Nash had started spearfishing. And so we'd go up north all the time, camp, go spearfishing. So just packed up all my stuff, go to the South Island and do that. So it was pretty cool.
Cool. Before that, actually, I'll probably circle it back around. I know that you guys went over to Aussie a couple of times to the BMX, but you actually rode the X Games. So you saw the X
Air.
X Air, yeah.
Yeah, so New Zealand's equivalent to the X Games, which actually started in the mighty H-Town, Hamilton, when I'd have been one of my first, like, real road trips. So I was, like, our parents were strict, but on the other side, they weren't at all. Yeah, when I was, like, 13, jumped in the car, come to Hamilton. I don't even know. Maybe it was at Mystery Creek. I actually couldn't even tell you where it was. And they had X Air. And I went down hoping, I think, to ride. And they wouldn't, like, you'd had to have already booked in. But I remember being at the gate on practice day, and everybody got let in but me. And they're like, well, we can't let you in. You haven't got a rider's pass. Yeah. And I go, oh, okay, that dude's got my keys to get back into the hotel room. And they let me in. There we go. I was in. And then it stopped being in Hamilton after that, maybe 2 years in Hamilton, and it moved to Wellington. And got to ride in that. Dave the Man Manconi let me ride. Yeah, nice. And that was awesome. Big contest. First year we'd ride contests. We'd ride little contests and jams and stuff. And this was the first big one, like seating, probably 5,000 people watching, filmed for TV and stuff. And first year partied. Like, that was the big thing. Just partied hardcore. And so it would have been pretty rinsed the next day, but just felt a bit under the pressure of it, couldn't hack it, didn't really put very good runs together. And then the next year got to go back, and I was like, I'm just going to have a good time, and had a much better time, rode way better, partied way harder probably. Nice. Every year they'd have a pre-party and all the BMXers and skaters would party too hard, and then the next night should have been like the real party, and they'd all ban everybody. They'd be like, nah, so they have to get another venue. And then shout out to Steve McCarty. It stopped years ago and then hasn't run for years, and he's brought the franchise and he's been running it in Tauranga and with the NZ Drift Nationals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so running it again. So that's really cool. Cool for at that stage it was massive. You had Dave Mirra turning up, all the big pros that you wanted to dreamed of riding with, and then you got to ride with them and got to go and party with them. So, which was amazing. So he sort of brought that back, and last year got a lot of the Aussie pros to come over, which is awesome that now young kids get to fulfill their dreams by doing it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And so what sort of moves are people just, if someone's listening or they're saying, but what sort of moves is someone pulling off in these sort of things? Are they doing,
Yeah, it's sort of hard to just backflips, double backflips, 540s flares, big transfers, that sort of thing. Like at the last one in Wellington, the first 1080 ever got done on a bike.
Yeah.
They'd have vert ramps set up. One year they had the vert ramps set up in the where they do the orchestra. What's that called? Not town orchestra,
hall.
like a town hall sort of thing, and it was amazing, air conditioned inside, and dudes that own 900s, which is pretty much the biggest trick on vert. And
so would they build big plywood ramps and then
the vert ramp, they'd have one that you could collapse and take around, and then the rest of them they just have it was being an event center, and they'd build the whole course, and same thing, pack it down and put it in containers for the rest of the year, and then bring it back out.
Yeah, so the coolest one. So what would have been the coolest jumps that you saw live happen?
Oh, it's sort of bit double, some of the stuff that went down there was pretty amazing. Seeing Dave Mirra do a 360 backflip no-hander, that was amazing. But there was lots of other stuff that was equally cool, just being at the trails and seeing one of your mates do a real nice turn down or something, it's sort of that scale of, for people that don't ride, it's can you backflip, and it's for riders, you're backflips are alright, but they're certainly not the be all and end all in it. It's a lot of the tricks that to a normal person they'd see, they wouldn't think anything of, but that was sort of the cool thing.
Okay. And what was your favourite?
Tabletops, where you go up on a ramp and then fold the bike up like that, or a turn down. I got a few pictures we might flash out.
Yeah, that's it. On the rails.
Yeah, but or just doing big gaps, just jumping from one bit of the skate park to another that you weren't meant to, you know.
See anyone like jump over a bus or anything?
I haven't, but like dudes have done that, like Colin Winkleman and the dudes. I think like the record's like 13 cars or something, and craziness.
Yeah.
And then
any of your mates or the dudes that you ride with, you ever get into doing that sort of thing?
Well, Jed Milden, so Jed from Taupo, now Tauranga, rides for Jump Flex, awesome dude. He was the first Kiwi to do a double backflip. Yeah. Then he was the first person in the world to do a triple backflip. Yeah. And then the first person in the world to do a quad backflip.
Damn.
And then the triple backflip, he had to wear steel cap boots.
Oh, yeah, health and safety.
Yeah, health and safety for the Guinness Book of Records to be all official. And he did in Taupo. Taupo Council helped him out hard out. And he built a scaffolding thing that would have been like 4 stories high as a roll-in to this jump. And just sent it. The Franklin Farm down in Tikawiti had let him build a big jump and like just down a hill and make a foam pit so he could practice it. Yeah. And Jed had always, like, everybody wanted to be sort of sponsored to differing levels. Yeah. Not everybody, but most people sort of, that'd be the dream. You get to do what you love full time. But Jed really wanted to do it. He'd go to America, and he sort of got that he was very good, but he wasn't good enough to win contests consistently. So he needed to do something to put himself really out there, and that triple backflip is what made it happen. He did that, and like the next morning, it's 1,000 emails. He got on Nitro Circus because of that. And then
was he able to repeat it? Well, he must have.
Nah. Quad. Well, yeah, but no. Like, he did the triple and was like, that's one time. Like, he was having dreams he'd died the night before and stuff, and he was like, it was like a show, like a trick to push him into that next level, but wasn't like, I'm going to do this all the time. And he did this to a plot, like a scaffold tower with a plywood ramp on the back, and he was looping out at 2.5 onto his back, like toughest guy I know. So it wasn't, you weren't like, oh, give that another go. It was like, done, got the sequence photo, sweet. Now they have these big inflatable landings, so they become like, you can kind of do these things and you're not going to kill yourself. So no, I think he was pretty much like, I never want to do a triple again. But then the quad was like, came out as an idea. And there was a guy, an American guy, Chris Fox or something. He was trying to do them at the same time. So Jed pipped him to the post. And then him and Minnie were trying to do the quad. Minnie got hurt, and then Foster was also trying to do it. And Jed was trying to do it in New Zealand through winter, so like having to clean the ramp down every time to do them. And there's a photo on the internet, and he does it like 3.5, I think, and just slams on his back and nails himself. And Nitro Circus was like, had a way better setup at Pastrana's place, so flew him over, and they went head to head doing it. And Foster landed, but like washed straight out, broke his collarbone, and then Jed got it.
Nice.
And and I don't think anybody's done a quad. Quite a few dudes do triples now. But same thing, sort of all the big foam, which is still, it's serious. Like, you still hurt yourself, but nowhere near as serious as how he did it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out Jed.
Yeah, Jed's the man.
All right, so we've totally talked enough BMX, which is fun. I was just thinking, I thought, tell us this story. So you've finished watchmaking, you've stopped the bank robberies, you're going to the South Island, you've got your loyal mate Jimmy the dog, the golden wolf.
Yeah.
I remember the restaurant story.
Oh, that was a goodie. So I was down in Kaikoura doing a bit of fishing, had the surf caster out, and I got Jimmy when he was sort of 1.5, and he was a good dog, but he was not loyal. And he was loyal to his stomach, loved to feed, and he'd sort of stick around for a while casting, and he knew as soon as you were like locked into something else, he knew, and he'd be off. And oh God, where's the dog? Turn around. Oh, he's not around. Jimmy. And then I just see this white dash in the distance, and there's a restaurant up on the hill. So I put my wine in my gear, put it down, walk up to the restaurant. I'm like, is my dog coming here? And he's like, yeah, he was running around the kitchen. So I kicked out the back door, and then I go into the restaurant. They're like, yeah, he's out, run around, and he was out the front. And then go out the front, and he's just like eating some rubbish or something. But just classic Jimmy, just up to no, like harmless, but always up to no good. But yeah, he was awesome. We just travelled around, do bushwalks. I'd go free diving. With the right winds down there, you'd get a lot of like power would wash up onto the beaches, or I'd go get power. He'd just eat whole power for dinner, and he was loving it. So travelled all round down the east coast, ended up in Bluff for a while, hung out there, and then went over to Queenstown for a big BMX contest at Dirt Jumps, hung around there, partied it up large, and then ended up cruising back up the west coast and home.
Yeah. Top highlights of the South Island?
The diving, in Bluff, you wouldn't even have to get in the water, and you could get a feed of power. Yeah, and then just like massive crayfish, awesome visibility, nobody round. Yeah. Often. It's just sort of all of that, just getting to see it. Anybody that goes down there, it's like another country, like especially all around Queenstown, the Lake District. Yeah, it was phenomenal. So just that sort of freedom, cruising around and doing it.
Awesome. So then you came back, you don't see you still got the BMX, still got Jimmy. Did you go back to the watch company, help out Mark?
Yes, that's I went back and helped out Mark while he got his knees reconstructed. Yeah. Whole new knees, cut the bone off at the top and the bottom, and whole new knees. Crazy. So went back, worked for him for a while, and was sort of cruising, riding bikes heaps. There was an indoor skate park in Auckland at the time, so I was just riding all the time.
What was that called?
Wrong. Which it started in...
Wrong? W-R-O-N-G?
Yeah, wrong.
Okay, cool.
It started in Hamilton, then ended up moving up there. And I was just doing that, staying with you, staying with Mum, staying with you, staying with Sean. And then you guys moved to Kaiheri, and you were like, "We want to come down and give us a hand." So I moved down to Kaiheri with you, and gave you a hand on the place. And then after a bit, was like, "Need to get a job." Loved country calendar, loved country calendar, and got offered a job dairy farming, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna be on my own real life episode of Country Calendar. Jimmy's gonna be a farm dog. What more could you want in life? Well, not to be a farmer, it turned out. When it did, straight into carving. Hats off to all the backbone farmers out there. It's tough stuff. Did a carving, did a season, then did another carving, and was like, no way. I'm not going to keep doing this. And at that stage, you'd managed to save up.
How many cows on the farm?
650 or something, 600 to 650, 52 bale rotary. Yeah. I was pretty spoiled as well. I didn't know this because I was fresh to dairy farming, but a 52 bale brand new rotary, electric teat spray, drafting gates. They had the collars, so you could draft whatever cows you wanted, and they'd have heat detection, so they'd get put up for mating. So, it was good farm. Shout out to Campbell Clayton Green, New Zealand rower, and good guy. And Garth was the farm manager, really good guy, and great experience. One of those experiences.
Good guy.
Yeah, Barry Williams, who owned it. It was a great experience, great to get it out of the system, to have done it. And I think what I'd actually seen on Country Calendar and what I dreamt of doing was being like a hill country sheep and beef farmer, not a dairy farmer.
Yeah. How was Jimmy? Was he helpful on the dairy farm?
He wasn't really, he was allowed on the dairy farm, but he wasn't allowed to bring in the cows. So I'd often get a phone call from Garth when I was off the farm, and Jimmy would have slipped out of his collar and been up on the feed pad just eating liquid cow poo. And then if he wasn't there, he was just lapping it up. He one day dug up a dead calf that looked like an orc off Lord of the Rings, and it was just munching down on that. Jimmy had a stomach, absolute steel.
Yeah.
He'd eat dead mouldy stingrays on beaches, and he'd eat fruit.
The polystyrene.
That was the one year he'd eat plastic wrappers off chicken all the time and pull out these nice long plastic wrappers. And then one night I get woken up to Jimmy barking. This is years later. Get woken up to Jimmy barking, and I go down and see him, and I was like, he didn't look that good, but he sort of looked all right. Oh no, that's what I did. So I let him out, and I let Red out of their cages, and Jimmy went straight into Red's cage and ate his food. And I was like, you so-and-so, like, you just got me up because you wanted to eat it. So locked them back in. In the morning, I let them out, and Jimmy was like super tight, like he'd gotten super fat all of a sudden, and you couldn't press on his stomach. It was hard. And I took him upstairs, and he wouldn't eat the cat food, and I was like, "There's something wrong." Took him to the vet, and the vet's like, "Oh, he's like super dehydrated. He's not well." And they're like, "We need to put him to sleep to like sedate him, not kill him, put him to sleep to X-ray him, and but we reckon he won't wake up from it." And I was like, "Well, just hold on to him, see how he goes." Went home, and Frida's like, "Oh yeah, I saw him eating polystyrene the other day." And yeah, because he'd get into the rubbish so often, this wasn't like worth mentioning before it. So I ring up the vet, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's eating heaps of polystyrene." And they're like, "Oh, he's pretty mellow. We'll just do the X-rays without putting him to sleep." Yeah, big blockage, $1,600. And the vet was like, eating rubbish, like looking down at me like, what a bad dog owner. $1,600 later, they cut it all out, and she was like, rings me the next morning. She's like, "Went fine. He lasted the night." And she was like, "Yeah, as soon as I took him outside for a walk, he started eating like chicken bones and other rubbish." And she's like, "Okay, you're not so bad."
Oh yeah, yeah. He would eat chicken bones.
Everything.
I remember when you first got him in the nacky, and you were like, I don't know, being a bit of a stressful dad, so you locked him in the Toronto.
No, that was after.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh yeah, he ate Easter eggs. He could eat chocolate. Dark garner was no problem for Jim. No, that was after I'd come back from the south.
They spread it all around.
Yeah, after I'd come back from the South Island, I brought tucks, which I never usually feed him. And I was staying at my mate Zach's, and I, for some reason, had left him in the ute. I left him in my car, and he just squirted everywhere. Like a sandy Tux Wonder Dog, and Tux biscuits are like a few different colours, and it wasn't good. And then I was back up at my uncle's, and everybody was down for Easter, and he did the same thing. And everybody that night heard him barking but me. Yeah. I usually would just leave him tied to the tow ball of the ute, and he could sleep under the car. But I think Clara was like, "Oh, that's you're too mean, let him in." And yeah, he did it again. And that was like unbolting the seats and water blasting it out. Wasn't good. So those are the only time his guts have really let him down, Polystyrene and Tux, No discredit to Tux.
Yeah, that's it. That's Jimmy. That's cool. So, dairy farm, what was the favourite cow?
Oh, 136. Now my favourite number. So 136 had been raised as a calf club calf, and then came back into the herd 2 years later, and it would come up and put its head under your arm and you'd give it a pad. And yeah, so for my 30th birthday, Sean made me a cake with a cow-faced cake with 136. So yeah, good number.
Good number, good cow. And then you start actually heading towards, you move to Thames off the farm, and you get a job with Walkway Solutions. So you're finally actually building.
Yeah, so I I moved there, and the neighbour was best friends with Nikki, who runs Nikki and Alan ran Walkway Solutions, and she was like, "What are you doing for a job?" This is the neighbour, Debbie, and I said, "Oh, nothing." So Alan gave me a call, gave me an interview, and so Walkway Solutions, they build basically dock tracks. They do a lot of work for Dock and other companies like that, Auckland Council, Tauranga Council. So the first big job we were on was in Great Barrier Island.
Yeah.
So 12 days on, 2 days off, staying on barrier. Get there the first day, no one, jump in this big van, and we just cruise up. But I think I had a Willie the Waiter sticker on the back of my car, and Millsy was like, "Who's that with the Willie the Waiter sticker?" And I was like, "Me." He's like, "You're a good guy." So cruise up and fly to barrier in these little planes that are so old they still have little cigarette, like ashy cigarette in them. So flew over to barrier, and a storm had come through a few years before, and just from the highest mountain, Mount Hobson, I think it's called, ripped all 7 bridges out and big landslides and stuff. So we were there rebuilding all of those. So just awesome, like just thrown straight into it, walking. It was after the Christmas break, so we went over the first time, went and got all the utes, so they're taking utes over. That's already started this job. And would drive up a 4-wheel drive track and then walk in and just slowly build our way up this valley doing these bridges. And it's such a cool job. We're building swing bridges, like just conventional timber bridges, doing the pass in between and all of that. So it was real cool.
So how would you, because anybody that might have been tramping or going into the bush in New Zealand, even on an organised thing, might sometimes think, how did this bridge get here?
Yeah, so like, helicopters. Also,
okay.
So predominantly, a few things. Machinery, like a Cormedy, which is a tracked machine, like a big tracked wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
So you would pick up metal and then build the tracks.
Yeah.
And then predominantly helicopters.
Okay.
So you'd get in there, do a bit of work, and then you'd do flying days. So the first flying day, first flying day? I think it was the first flying day. We have a big area with all the bridges brought in on high abs and all the metals either bagged up or they have big steel hoppers or aluminium hoppers, and you have a digger filling gravel into those, and then they'd fly into the bush, and you'd dump the gravel as you'd go and then form your tracks. Either dump it as you'd go along your track, or you'd make a big stockpile and then drive your Cormedy in and do that. And we'd fly diggers in. So in that job we did it all. So I got to learn it all straight away. And I think it was that first or the second day, Dane was like, "You're with me, we're going to fly up the valley and then we'll fly in some gear." So get there, and it's just like chopper on the riverbank, running but just waiting, jump in a side each, chuck the belt on, feet on the skid of the helicopter, and it was like in a movie. It was awesome. Flying, like low flying up this valley, and then get to this big landslide, and the helicopter pilot just balanced the skid on the edge. I climbed out, Dane passed me our tool belts and our bags, passed some other gear, and then the helicopter took off, got the long line hooked up, and then they flew us a bunch of timber in and stuff like that, and we cut the bearers and put the bearers in for the bridge. The helicopter would have been running loads to all the other guys along the track. They'd flown in a generator earlier, actually, and a big rock drill to drill new holes for a suspension bridge. And as we flew over, there's Jay and all them drilling holes, and then they'd have kept flying. We put these bearers on, and then they flew a bridge in, and like they're on like maybe 20-meter long lines, and they're coming down, and like the wash off the helicopter's just moving everything hectic as, and we landed that bridge, strapped it all up, and then walked out. So yeah, just so awesome.
Yeah.
Like never been in a helicopter, and then suddenly and it was like flying on a magic carpet. You just become weightless and fly up. And then that afternoon, we got to go rock fishing. They put it all in the helicopter, chili bin full of beers, flew us out to a rock. We went rock fishing, and then on the way back, like the pilot, super good dude, took us for like a joyride. There was this big grass clearing, like a runway, and then it dropped off, and he just caned along it, and then dropped down, and you'd all feel like you'd go weightless for a bit, and then whoo, and off. Good times.
Good times. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you guys got the bridges built.
We did a bunch of stints. You know, that was probably 3 months of doing those stints on it. Flew over in a helicopter a few times, light planes a few times, and yeah, just slowly built them all. Built a big suspension bridge, which was really cool.
Quite big, how a lot, you know?
I don't know, it's probably 20 meters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like big set and big poles, and you build your 2 towers, and then we'd carry a wire across and string them up, and then slowly build out. You just build like, put hooks on and push one out, then the next one, and just build like that. Yeah, and real cool. Got to go spearfishing after work, cruise around, go swimming, and yeah, Great Barrier's like a step back in time.
Yeah.
But most people never been there because it's pretty far away.
No
Power.
Yeah.
So you only generator, only solar or wind. There's no mains power, no sewerage, no, like it's just like how New Zealand was 50 or 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Was sort of, like roads and
maybe
stuff.
yeah.
But, like just locals doing their local stuff, and yeah, just real Kiwi ingenuity and real cool. So
that's it. And you were a little bit later to social media. You took to I think the first picture you put up on like the Mighty Facebook was like a big bushfire. What was that situation?
Not quite. Yeah, because I was a bit of a hater on the socials, just assumed everybody was putting up pictures of their breakfast, which, is actually quite fun to do, and it's a good breakfast. But I think it was after the first trip to Barrier, I was like, I need to get a camera phone. I was like, I got to.
Because you're still running a brick that you could crack a beer with.
Yeah, a little brick. Beep, and you can never hear anybody on it.
And this is like 2014,
2015, 16, something like that. So it's
hardly the 90s anymore.
Yeah. Phones existed. So I got a phone, and that's another walkway story. We were working over by Cathedral Cove. Off Cathedral Cove, we built another track out to this viewing platform. Yeah. And we'd built this viewing platform, real awesome, and it had an access way, and then we were medaling this track. And I'd just been driving the Cormity in and out all day, beautiful blue sky day. And I come out one time, and I was like, oh, it's real cloudy. And then I was like, oh no, it's smoke. I was like, oh, farmer must be burning some stuff off. And I was like, did it a few more times, and then Dane just like run past full pace, and he's like, fire, there's a fire, and was running back to get water canisters. And the hill, so we all came back out, and then the fire brigade turned up, and it was just like voluntary fire brigade, and they were a bit lost. So we were helping them pull out like hoses, and yeah, I've got a selfie of me like this with all the bush on fire behind me, and it was hectic times and funny as, because we were just doing what we wanted. And the tourist had a fire at the bottom of the cliff, and it just burnt the whole way up. Torched one of we had these big steel bins with our tools in it, torched that, burnt some of the structure, and yeah, crazy.
Yeah, but shout out the fire brigade, got it under control.
They got it under control. Yeah, they got all their machines in there and got it all under control. So yeah, that was good. Wow. After a bit, they had sort of some of the more head dudes turned up. Like, what are you guys doing running around here? Get out of here.
Nice. And along those times, you got involved pest trapping as well.
Yeah.
You thought, Jimmy, such a good dog, he can get Kiwi trained. He needs to.
Well, Kiwi trained only in, so he wouldn't need a Kiwi. But
I bet he would have.
No doubt. No. Well, not in saying that. When I was down in Taranaki with staying at Zach's like, "Where's your dog?" And it's like, "Oh, he's in the chicken coop." But he was just eating chicken food. He wasn't a killer. He was an eater, you know? But Thames Coast Kiwi Care and Thames do trap lines. And so I would put my hand up to check trap line and got into that. And I'd just take Jimmy with me, get to walk for, I think it took 3 hours to do the trap line. Then I ended up doubling the size because I used to walk up it and then walk back the same way. Yeah. So I ended up bush bashing and put in a new track, put a new path and new traps. And yeah, that was awesome. Found kiwi feathers one time. Would get to see kiwi footprints. And like Thames Coast Kiwi Care, they went from a population of, I think, 30 kiwi. And now they're up to over 150 kiwi. So
just trying to trap the rats.
Stoats, weasels, ferrets are like the real main ones, and then you get lots of rats as a byproduct, but rats aren't big enough to kill a full-grown kiwi. Oh, yeah. So do that. They'll take the eggs and take them to Moutatapu, one of the islands, and they'll raise them. Then they'll do a muster and catch the kiwis when they're 2 years old and bring them back to the mainland. Nice. Because a full-grown kiwi, except for wildcats and stoat or ferrets, or one of them, nothing really. They're big enough that they can protect themselves. So, yeah, did that for years. It was really good and rewarding work. It was just not work, rewarding thing to be able to do and give back.
Well, that's it. At a certain point, you finished up with the walkways. You had enough of the travel for a bit. And you got involved with my old mate, John Sorden.
Oh, Master Sorden.
I think I got a phone call and John was whinging to me that he needed some workers. And I think you'd been out of work for a day, or maybe not even out of work.
I wasn't even out of work, so I'd been working for Walkways. And after, all these great bush jobs.
Oh, you went to the Mormania.
Yeah, we were working in Templeview and Hamilton, building this giant boardwalk. And it was just boring, hot work, and it was a lot of time. So you're a week away, like Monday to Friday away. Yeah. So the wife's at home. So decided to give it in and go back to being a watchmaker was the idea. Sell watches and sell clocks and be a watchmaker. And so that worked, but it wasn't heaps of work. So I think when John Boy had given you a call, you were like, "Oh, Mike, you could do this for a bit extra money," which is I think how a lot of people start working for John. It's just like, I help you out on a job, and it automatically means that you work full time for John, and then you should quit everything else you do. Started my journey being a roofer and being continue being more of a tradie,
Yeah, so John Kwando, mighty Taekwondo master, great mate. So he was running. Must have been a full-time beekeeping man back then. So did you start with him as a beekeeper or as a roofer?
I started in winter helping him roof. We were roofing a place over the road from an old hay barn, re-roofing that. Yeah. And so started doing some roofing work with him, but he was, by that, he'd been a big time roofer in Auckland, and then he'd kind of scaled that down and was going to be a big time beekeeper. Honey was absolute gold at that stage. And so got into beekeeping and roofing at the same time, go on these ridiculous beekeeping adventures where you'd work all day roofing and then strop 50 hives onto a Sangyong and a trailer and drive. We drove to National Park, get there at 1 a.m, unload all the hives, go to sleep at 4 in the morning, up at 6 in the morning, and then on to Wellington, and just carnage, just so much work, so many hours, but good fun. One night, one of the first nights moving bees, lost my gloves and got like 20 bee stings on my hands, and this other kid actually got hospitalized from it.
Soft.
Yeah, what it was. I could barely move my hands the next day. Didn't feel particularly well, but survived.
Yeah.
And beekeeping was a bit like that. You got so immune to getting stung, it didn't really matter. It became quite hilarious. You'd throw bees at each other, and yeah, good times.
So you started roofing and beekeeping at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Highlights of the beekeeping world.
Highlights of the beekeeping world were those. Were a few things. Like I've always loved animals as well as building. So working with bees, seeing how they produced and doing all that stuff was really cool, real rewarding work. And then just getting to be outdoors every day doing it was cool. And then doing these big trips down to like Hastings and Havelock and going into these big backcountry farms, seeing wild deer running around. That was all very cool. So just that whole side of beekeeping was very cool. Finding burr comb in hives and eating honey straight out of hives, that sort of stuff. Yeah, was fantastic. So that, yeah, all of that was very cool. And then with the roofing, yeah, so we started doing roofing, re-roofing houses, and a bit of commercial work up in Auckland.
Yeah.
And then John got the job to re-roof the Pinnacles hut in the Pinnacles out of Thames, and the track was closed at the time, so the hut was empty. So Doc wanted to do a heap of work to it. So there's the main hut and then the old hut, which is now the warden's quarters, and that's what we re-roofed. So yeah, same, got to go and jump in a helicopter, fly up there, fly all the gear in, fly all the scaff in, re-roofed that, and yeah, that was just fantastic. Like, walk up to the Pinnacles after work at night, just amazing stars, amazing, just having this place to yourself. So yeah, it was really cool. Got to sort of get one of my first real experiences of how awesome the council was.
Oh yeah.
Plumber got flown up, installed a brand new fireplace. We're all soaking wet because we'd gotten wet that day, middle of winter. So he lit the fire and we dried all our stuff out. Cool. Council comes up like a week later, and the inspector's like, this isn't a brand new fireplace. I can't sign it off. Like, they end up getting around it, but you're just like, God, they're idiots.
What was the lessons that John taught you from roofing? Like, what did you pick up from the John? What are the keys to a great roofer?
Yeah, very good sharp pencil. Number one, for good flashings, a sharp pencil.
Yeah.
Just really good attention for detail. John, it was sort of one of his good points and one of his bad points, depending on where you were at the time, is he'd explain everything really well to you. Yeah. So it was really good because I worked for him for a couple of years, but it was like 10 years worth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I'd soak that up. But he'd also explain that to a person that was like, had already told them he was quitting. And you're like, stop wasting our time.
Not explain it to a 15-year-old like Mike. That's
like
for a day.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, it just taught me a lot about detail, attention to detail, different ways to do things, and the best way to do everything. So yeah, it was really good. Really, I often think when I'm doing doing flashings or anything, what would John do? Sharpen my pencil. Yeah. And so no, it taught me a lot. Taught me a lot of good things, and still call them if I have something that I'm not sure about, and yeah, so
that's cool. In terms of and what was probably the lessons from the beekeeping?
Put your gloves on.
Put the gloves on, eh?
But only for a bit. You get sort of immune to it.
What made for a
Don't
good
be a
beekeeper?
beekeeper.
Yeah.
Don't invest all your money in bees.
Yeah, bees just seem like it's terrible.
Bees went really high when Manuka got found out how good all the properties were, everybody was like, it was a gold rush, and bees were gonna like be the next big thing. But actually, it's not hard to produce honey. It's like people always like, oh no, the bees are going extinct, and you're like, yeah, our native bees are, but farmed bees, you give a beekeeper $1 million, and he could give you 1 billion bees.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just
And explain that actually. So at the start of the season after winter, you might have what you would see is one box.
yeah, you'd break them down over, like in summer you see them stacked 10 high, but that's all honey predominantly. And then over winter you take all your honey off and push them down into 1 or 2 boxes so they'd keep warm, because bees have to keep themselves at I think 30 degrees, and they'll just do that by vibrating. But over winter there becomes a period where the queen will stop laying, and your worker bees don't work as hard, so they'll live longer, but your hive just gets smaller and smaller. So then when you come into spring, pollen starts becoming again, the queen starts laying, you start producing more bees. But if you want, you could just split a hive in half, not exactly, you'd take a certain amount of brood, food and pollen, and you could split it, leave the queen in one, take the other hive 5k plus away, otherwise those bees will just GPS straight back to where they were, and then you can get a new queen cell and put it in, and then when that queen hatches, those bees will raise that queen as their own, and then you've got 2 hives. So that's what I mean, with enough money, bees, you can just keep on splitting them and make more and more bees. It's but yeah, so yeah, like, just taught me obviously how bees work, more about business, time management, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, mainly relevant to being a beekeeper.
And then sometime around this time, I would have been involved in Waikato sheds, and I was like, this is awesome. Sheds are awesome. And I thought, right, you do very well. What is it? Roofing background, building background, and but also the ability to just problem solve and get things done. And then introduced you to Paul and Stan.
The mighty Paul and Stan. So yeah, that's it. Basically, come on board, and then I got to go and work with Paul and Stan. To start with as contractor, I was just contracting with Paul and Stan. And
what was it like?
I was working here actually. To start with, the first day I worked with Paul was standing frames, and there were 2 of us. There was me and some other dude, I don't know who it was, there to help. And I just did my classic, get in there. How can I help? Oh, that's the next thing to do. I'll do that. Or what can I do? And I'll do it. And worked really well. The other guy, after half a day, I think Brian was like, oh, well, we don't need you know, like, there's not enough work for you all.
It's like a farmer or
something, you know. So he went home, and I just kept on working with them. And then, yeah, I think Paul gave me a call and got me to help him build a different shed. And then we just started doing some big jobs. We did the first one, I think, was Flula. Big tilt panels at the back, big shed, built that. And then, yeah, at some stage after did that, and then we went and built Narawahia shed house, big one up on the hill. And same thing, Paul's great, explains everything really well, shows you a job. Once you know that well enough, get another job and work through. And so, yeah, got to learn it with them. And then probably I, at some stage, started actually as an employee for Waikato Sheds, but just kept on working with Paul and Stan. So it was like, did a couple of years just working with them, and sort of did like a mini shed building apprenticeship basically. Built that, like we built Auto Technics, which was 30 metre clear span by 50 metres long. Built the men's shed, just built a whole bunch of stuff, Tieki driving range and all of that. So just got thrown in the deep end and really got to learn how it all worked and happened from a couple of masters of the shed game.
What would be the favourite sheds out of those ones?
I don't know. They were all sort of memorable, but predominantly working with Paul and Stan more than the sheds themselves. Like, yeah, fantastic sheds. I'd happily own any one of them, you know, but sort of all quite different. But it was mainly just learning the products, learning how it all went, having a laugh. You know, building Castleton's Castle. That was awesome. But none any more than any other. Because steel's sort of all steel in a sense. Like, it's sort of all the same when you're working with it. When you get to stand back.
Yeah.
But same thing. Like, the big industrials are cool. The driving range was really cool. That was really fun. But yeah, they were sort of all equally enjoyable. But it was just really cool working with them. As Paul says, you never work a day in your life if you're doing what you enjoy. And that's not completely true. But there's a lot of truth to it, you know. And I would get up and enjoy going to work with them. So it wasn't a drain, but it didn't then mean that one job was any more special than the other, sort of.
Yeah, and then we got busier and busier, and then we brought you in really more as the site manager to check quality and work with all the other builders and make sure and assist the kit set clients and that sort of thing. Any other memorable sheds, I suppose, or things you've been able to go around and see since you've been?
Getting around the country is certainly fun. Like I got to go down to Gisborne and help out a kit set client who had brought a steel house off us, a steel stud framed house, and was going to build the whole thing himself, but had sort of overestimated what he was going to be able to do. So I went down there and helped him out, and that was really cool to be able to help somebody sort of build their dream house. He'd lived in New Zealand, lived in Aussie for ages, moved back, wanted to build this dream house. And so I really helped him get along a lot further with that. And then, like, the other day, he sent through photos of it all finished, living in it, you know. And so that's really cool to be able to do that. And even just in, like, the last week or two, going out to kit set clients and being able to help them get started and then get them going on the phone, suggest how to do things, and saying, like, Phil, 70-year-old guy, helping his mate build a 20 by 10 sort of thing. And, you know, the first day he's just like, I don't understand anything. When I spent a couple of hours with him, build up a portal, and now today he just sent me a photo that had KT Cartage come in, who had suggested all the portals stood, and just stoked, you know. And that's awesome, just getting to help people fulfill their dreams to build these big sheds, but also getting to learn it and then be able to pass that information on to help people. Yeah, very cool.
Awesome. Might just hit you with a few more. We went probably highlights, eh? What do you think of Metallica?
Oh, Metallica, awesome. That was, real cool. Like, always loved Metallica. When I was living in Wellington, riding BMX, would jump in my mate's car and he'd have like a handful, like 10 CDs, and they'd all just be Metallica, like acoustic live, and just rock out, go up to I think it was Paraparam burnout contests, and do skids, ride bikes, listen to Metallica. Metallica, just fantastic, just out of this world. Like, everybody loved it. They went hard. They've got to be in their 60s, and they just rocked out hard. So very cool.
They nailed it at Eden Park. That was awesome. It really was. I was so impressed with how they went. Any other memorable concerts over the years?
One real cool one. While I was still a watchmaker in Queen Street, my friend Alex, she was doing a course to become what's it called, like a travel agent sort of thing, and she got me a job working at like the Fight for Life one night, and then she got us a job working at Rolling Stones, but we had to work while Nickelback was on, so no great loss there. And I had to open the cans of booze and then take them from out the back and put them on this table, and then the person would sell them, turn around and give them open cans of booze. So I'd open a few, put them there, and then I'd go out the back to throw the empty boxes in the bin and just like was scouring 8% burbs. And then after Nickelback, that bar closed, and they're like, there's the gate, you can leave, but if you want to go watch a show, we don't care. And got to watch Rolling Stones, and that at Western Springs, packed. So that was absolutely just phenomenal.
Well preloaded.
Yeah, well preloaded. And free, you know, so it's just like 1-1-1. And
They
then
pay you for that, or was that just...
yeah, I don't think I ever ended up getting paid, but I was meant to. But you know, I was like, yeah, I can live with that. Yeah, and then Big Day Outs, got to go to a bunch of Big Day Outs, or Rage Against the Machine, and just a bunch of other cool things. But Rage being one of the big ones, getting to see them was very cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I suppose since we've been here, been to field days a bunch of times, but now we're getting to go around and do it. Any highlights from field days?
Just the people, just the whole thing. Yeah, very cool. Like, growing up as a townie, never went to field days, so getting to go. Went a couple of times before working here.
Yeah.
And then, going and filming everything. So, as you know, like, we started out sort of doing Coromandel time years ago, filming funny videos, some hilarious stuff out there. So, been filming and sort of being in front of the camera for a while. So, just been doing more of that, going to field days, going live on TikTok, talking to people. It's fun as, you know. So, yeah, field days, definitely. It's good fun. And I think the first year or so it was pretty daunting how big it was, when now it's like gotten so used to it, it's like quite look forward to like, oh cool, we're gonna go and get to have fun for 4 days, talking to people and just having a good time.
Field days is awesome. I can't wait. Highlights from last year, Waikato rugby.
Getting to run the Willy 100 was pretty funny. The Willy 100 run up the 100 meters. We were putting up Quinton's name for it. I was like, no way. Had a sore leg, so I didn't really want to do it. But I sort of knew I'd probably get roped in the end.
So this is the halftime entertainment.
Yeah,
they had the Tradie 100.
The Tradie 100. So Livingstone's had sponsored it. We'd entered. We assumed a bunch of their tradies would be in it, but it wasn't a very stacked running field. But yeah, just been smashing heaps of Waikatos in preparation for it. I come dead last, which was just where I wanted to be, and Quinton won it for us. So yeah, that was fun. And then the March Past was, by far the best thing, is being able to be part of sponsoring the March Past, having almost 1,000 kids there.
Yeah, I think it's more than 1,000.
Yeah, it was like raining most of the time, and they were all pumped. We'd won the Ranfurly Shield. We were all pumped. The team didn't get the message because they lost. You get that on the big jobs. So yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. So really looking forward to doing that again. Really getting to just meet people and that are excited about life is very cool, and getting to give people prizes and all of that. It's so much fun.
Right, it's awesome. Speaking of fun, one of the other things that you do, NZ pie reviews.
Oh yeah, I haven't reviewed a pie for a little while.
Is that a 2026 resolution? Try and hide from the pies.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a bit hard. I do love a pie. Love reviewing a pie.
So give me the top 3 pies.
Top 3 pies. Every pie's a good pie is the issue, pretty much, except for a real average one, so, Kihi.
Yeah.
They've got a bakery there. Absolutely just such a good bakery. They're fantastic. Shout out to Zed, the gas station. Best bacon and egg pie in New Zealand. 2 whole eggs. Free range. Beautiful. Bit of chutney in there. Fantastic. That's what I'd eat every day if it wouldn't make me fat ass. That's what I could do. That's what I'd do.
Awesome.
And then Patrick's Pies, of course. Yeah. Tauranga, Rotorua, Bethlehem, which is still in Tauranga. Just award-winning pies. Super tasty, super good. And then RIP, the Byron Express in Thames. Used to have a creamy mushroom pie. Oh, mwah, so good. but they're gone now.
And then you've been doing a few pie races actually with Quinton, and then Oxford
And
Pies
Thomas.
and Kids in Need. So
Yep.
yeah, talk me through the technique to win a pie race.
I don't know, it seems reasonably easy. I get to eat it and talk, and I still beat Quinton, still beat Thomas, whose idea it initially was, beat Jasmine, beat somebody else. Yeah, just get it down, you chew, swallow,
Yeah.
Bill Brady, that's the one. He's the one that I'm really look forward to having a pie eating contest. Where I once saw him eat 9 pies.
What?
In
Bill Brady ate 9 pies
in a sitting, yeah. So, I'm like...
Bill's a plumber in Whangarei now.
Yeah, Whangarei heads, good plumber. So...
What gets Bill that hungry?
Bill was always hungry. He's got a big appetite.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else we want to cover it off before we wrap this one up, Mark?
No, not really. No, really good. Yeah, good times. Look forward to doing it again, going a bit more in depth on a few other stories and whatnot. But yeah, shout out to everybody through life that's helped me out for sure, parents, family, friends, John Boy, Paul, Stan, and everybody else in between, all the BMXers, everybody I've had a good time with through life, Thanks to them, that's what make life good, Thanks for Waikato Sheds, great company to work for, lots of good times. See me out there, hit me up, say hello. I might have a free prize in the back of the ute for you. And look forward to it. Cheers.
Yes, sweet, mate. And so if people want to find more on Instagram, there's New Zealand Pie Reviews.
New Zealand Pie Reviews.
If you want to see some classics, go and find
Coromandel time and scroll back.
Go back 10 years and
you'll find some absolute gold on there, some Coromandel gold. That's it. And
obviously Waikato Sheds.
Yeah, Waikato Sheds. I'm on there. And I've got 10 Instagram handles, so find some of the obscure ones.
It could be a gift in there for your content.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, well, cheers, Mark. That was lots of fun.
Sweet as. Cheers, mate.
No worries.